Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Sons of Anarchy, Season 7, Episode 10, Faith and Despondency. And guys, I pretty much last week was like, I don't really want to talk about the show for that much more. I can't wait for it to be over. But this episode completely proved me wrong, because this episode was fucking amazing. I loved it. Every scene was extremely amazing. And I'm not going to talk about the ending just yet. I really want to talk about the ending right now, but let's just say that definitely shit's about to go down. And with 3 episodes left, I've never been so excited for Sons of Anarchy. This was by far the best episode of the season. I loved everything going on in this episode. I thought everything was very, very good. There really wasn't anything that I felt dragged on. I felt everything was very important in this episode, and I really enjoyed that, definitely. One of the things I like this episode did is that the show is starting to not as much focus on the MC, because, you know, it's focused a lot on the motorcycle club and getting that all resolved. But this episode actually focused a lot more on the Sons' individual relationships that are going on outside of the MC and how that's affecting them. And I think that definitely is very interesting and definitely perfect for the final season. And out of any episode to feel like this is when you know, okay, it's almost over, this episode does that. This episode makes you be like, I don't want it to be over, and now we only have 3 episodes left. So let's just get to it, because this episode was amazing. Now, at the beginning of the episode, a lot of people have been talking about it. It's been a very controversial opening. I personally thought it was a very good beginning. I know a lot of people disliked it, but let's talk about it. Basically, we see like a sex montage. We see that because of the recent death of Bobby and everything, Jax is grieving by having sex with Winsome. Now, pretty much everyone's having sex. Now, everyone's probably like, why is everyone having sex? If you think about it, it does make sense, because when someone dies, there are 3 things that happen to them. You know, there are different ways people grieve. Most times, there are 3 common ways. 1, someone drinks their way out of it. They drink, you know, they drink a lot with alcohol and things like that. Someone starts taking drugs, you know, they take drugs and everything to get them out of it. Or they will, you know, they'll take drugs and things like that, and that's how they get over a death. Or they just start to have sex with people because they need someone to comfort them, and that's the way they get over the death. And as weird as this is, because it's really weird, because not only is Jax having sex with Winsome, Gemma's having sex with Nero, Tig is having sex with Venus, Althea's riding Chibs, Rat Boy is having sex with some random prostitute from Redwoody, and so is Happy. So all of the MC is pretty much just having sex and everything. Wendy's breaks out her vibrator, so that was really weird. Tully is raping someone who does not look happy at all. We do find out who that is a little bit later, which is huge. And Jax finishes up and then starts to cry, and I thought this was really good. And I thought this was really interesting. I watched Anarchy afterwards, which I thought was definitely a very interesting. I do recommend you guys watch it. It does drag on a little bit, but there are some interesting things that Kurt Sutter talked about. He basically said that the intention for this scene was to make it look like it was a Tara flashback, because Winsome looks so much like Tara. And I myself was like, is this like a Tara flashback? Because this just randomly came out of nowhere. I mean, we've seen Winsome before. If you guys don't remember Winsome, she was in Greensleeves. Jax approached her, and apparently the two have now been in a relationship. Now, I'm not exactly happy that the show rushed this relationship, but because of it being the final season, they kind of were forced to. They had no choice but to rush this relationship. So basically, Winsome asks Jax if she did something wrong. She's obviously very upset, and he says no. She tells him she heard what happened to his wife and tells him sorry. She gets up to leave, and he touches her back and asks where she's going. She says she thought he wanted her to leave, but he asked her to stay and even says please, and she lies back down with him, cuddles up. He holds her hand. They start kissing again. He puts his arms around her, and he tells her this is nice, and I thought that was a very great way to start the episode. It really shows the heartache that Jax is dealing with. Not only is this affecting him internally, it's also affecting him in the way that he is going to approach the club. It's going to affect him in many, many ways, and I definitely really enjoyed seeing people grieve over Bobby. So in the morning, Nero asks how the crew is holding up, because he can see that they have definitely, he knows what they've gone through, and he's obviously feels really bad for them. And Jax talks about how it's brutal and that they've all leaned on Bobby, and he says he's not sure what Sam Crow looks like without him. And Nero says he tried to talk to him a few times, says he's serious about selling his piece, and Jax says he knows, but says he can't buy him out. And I like that Jax is actually thinking about this, because it is the final season. So Jax is starting to think, maybe just turn his back on Sam Crow, maybe just end it, which I kind of feel like that's how the show's going to end, is that Jax is going to realize, you know what, Sam Crow's not doing anything for me, I'm out of it, and basically Sam Crow's going to be no more. That's what I'm pretty much saying is going to happen here. So he says he knows, but he can't buy him out, and Nero says he talked to Alvarez, and he has the cash, and then Ozzo will run the Stockton house. So Jax asks if he did the deal behind his back, but Nero says he was just exploring options and nothing is set in stone. He tells Time they both know it's time he got the farm, and he says he won't drop out and will stick around to make sure the transition works. So Winsome comes in the next morning and everything. She says she has to go to Red Woody, and Jax tells her where some stuff is, and she takes Jax's hand sweetly before she goes. And I thought that was really good. So Nero says she seems to be adjusting to life indoors, and Jax says she's smart and seems stable. And Jax says he's okay with Alvarez, but he's just not ready to lose Nero. He doesn't want to be. And Nero's saying, look, I'm not going anywhere. He says, look, I love your mom. I'm not going anywhere. And he will be around, but is hoping Gemma and the boys will spend time with him at the farm. He says it's quiet and safe and will be a nice spot for them to get away. Because we pretty much know Jax and Gemma, they're not going to this farm. They just don't want to go. They don't want to leave Charming, okay? They just don't want to. Which I don't understand, because there's so much shit going on, so why wouldn't you want to leave Charming? That's where the peace could be, is out at Charming. So I don't understand why they can't just leave, but they don't want to for whatever reason. So, you know, whatever, I guess. So Rhett says goodbye to his woman and says he didn't know Jax was here, and Jax says he couldn't sleep and has crashed there the last couple nights. And Rat asks if he heard more about August, but Jax says he's still in county, and of course, August, of course, as we know, was arrested in the last episode. And Rat says he's meeting Tio at the fireside, and Jax tells Rat Boy to head out when Winsome comes in with a box. She asks if those are the records, and he thanks her for helping out, but she says she doesn't know what she's doing. And she says she likes the girls and is going to get a place for the couple of them before they are all gunned down by Chinese gangsters, because they know that's probably going to happen again, because of course that happened in episode 4. And he thanks her for hanging out with him, and she says anytime he kisses her. She says she doesn't know much about this, but can tell he's in pain. She says she knows it's hard to look past the shit they do, and says she's lost track of the people they've hurt and disappointed, but he's been kind to her. And there haven't been many people that have been. And she says he kept his word when a lot of people don't. She said he's a decent guy, which he is. I think Jax is a decent guy. And really in this episode, we're starting to see that whole dark side of Jax is pretty much gone. I mean, really, it is. The whole thing of Jax, like, being so dark and such a villain is pretty much gone now, and now I actually really do appreciate Jax as a character, which is something I did have a problem with this season, definitely. So, basically, he leaves, and I thought that was really good. So then Venus finds Tig. Great to see Walter Goggins back on the show. Makes me so much more hyped for Justified, seriously. They keep showing promos for Justified, and it makes me so hyped for it. And I love seeing, I really like this Venus and Tig stuff. So, she finds Tig in the morning and asks if he's off to new adventures. He's drinking straight liquor and tells her he's headed to Stockton. And she kisses him and asks if she'll see him later. Tig says he's not sure, and Venus asks if he's okay. He tells her it's fine, kisses her cheek, then goes, but it's clearly not good this morning when it was great last night. And she's hurt, and then he touches her face where he did, and feels the stubble on her cheek. She sits down and broods, and I really like that they're doing this, because we actually haven't had a lot to do with Tig this season at all, pretty much. Tig has been a very background character who cracks a joke once in a while. That's pretty much been Tig's purpose all season. And the last time we saw anything with Venus was episode 4. So, it was good that we did get an update on this, and I definitely really like that, because we needed an update on this. So, I was happy that they did that. So Gemma tells Abel to eat fast, and he has this scratch on his face. Like, it's literally, like, all down his face like this. And then, of course, Wendy wants to know what happened to his face. And he says Tommy scratched him, and Wendy says she'll trim his nails. Grant tries to get Larisha to eat and says she will. So we still have that going on. Quinn comes in, says to go, and Larisha asks when they can go home. And Montez says they'll know by the end of the day. Grant says they can't just wait to see if someone will kill them. And Happy says they'll bring them home when it's safe. And Gemma then drops Abel off at school, and Harrison comes to walk him in. She asks what happened to his eye, and he says it was his little brother. Gemma drives off, and Harrison asks if an adult or someone did this to him. He should tell her. And Abel asks if they'd be in trouble with the police, and she says yes, and with the school, and she walks him inside. And I was like, why is Abel asking her that? I was kind of wondering. For a second, I was wondering if, you know, maybe, like, Gemma did something, like, to this to him. I mean, I don't think she would. I mean, she cares about Abel dearly. I don't know what I was thinking, but I mean, just from that line, it makes you like, what? So, Tully then meets with Jax, and still pretty much a pointless character, honestly. Tully is a pointless character, but I did like his stuff in this episode. He asks if he found why they put Juice in solitary, which is huge because now they want to know why. And Jax says, not only did Jerry took the deal to the DA, Tully says he's working on getting the right guys on to take care of the other matter. And Jax says he's meeting with Otis, and Tully says he got out of the joint and is solid. And he says Leland isn't happy about the management shift. And Jax says he'll help them adjust so long as he makes sure Juice gets to Lynn. And Tully also tells him he's going to keep that little Puerto Rican close so no one breaks his heart. And Jax says Juice could use a little lovin'. And we find out, basically, that Juice was the one that was raped, which I think was an awesome twist. I definitely really enjoyed that. And just, Tully's a crazy guy, definitely. So, Moses and crew, they walk out of one of August's construction offices when an SUV pulls up, and it's Tyler, and he asks what he needs. Now, we pretty much can see that Tyler is going to work with the neo-Nazis, it seems, at this point. So, Moses says he knows LaRisha made a statement and got a lawyer, and Moses says he has to talk to the pastor's family about changing their statements. He tells Tyler to find out where Jax is keeping them, and Moses says his closeness and the one-Niners' closeness to the MC is bothersome. And Tyler says they're with August, not Jax, and Moses tells them to prove it. And Tyler tells him there's a guy that runs their support group, T.O., and he says he probably knows, and Moses asks if he's a grim bastard. And Tyler says he'll track him down and let him know what he finds out, but Moses says they're going to do it together. Tyler has no choice but to ride along, even though he doesn't really want to. And at school, Abel goes into the bathroom. He looks at the scratch on his face, and he goes into a stall and locks himself in. He takes off his shirt, hangs it up, then stands on the toilet, opens his lunchbox, and inside, I mean, not stand on the toilet, he sits on the toilet. I don't know why he'd stand on the toilet. There's not like a fire drill going on or something. He has 3 things in his lunchbox. Now, this is very interesting. He has a thermos, a fruit roll-up, and a fork. And he wipes his nose, and he's just staring at the fork, and he, like, rolls up his shirt, and I'm like, what is he about to do here? So, I didn't know what he was going to do, and honestly, what I was thinking is that, you know, we've really seen a more sadistic, kind of, I don't want to say evil, but dark side of Abel this season. So, I was wondering if maybe Abel was hurting people, if he was protecting people, if he was doing what Jax did, you know, like, protecting people like that, because, you know, Jax told him to protect people and everything, and I was wondering if that had something to do with this. So I really didn't know what to think at this point, and we do find out what's going on there, and I definitely do want to talk about it, but we'll say what that is in a second. So Jax and the others, they go to meet Otis, and he introduces Chibs, Tig, and Happy, and they head around back, and Jax says he talked to Tully, and Otis says that Leland is late, and he shows Jax he has a bunch of guys, and says most don't give a shit about the management change. One of the guys calls Tig a tranny humper, as if he thinks people he doesn't know he sucks dicks. Tig steps forward, Chibs stops him, he comes over, demands an apology, the guy calls him an ass-raping freak, and Tig shoots him in the crotch, and that was awesome, I gotta say. Tig really is awesome. I mean, stepping up for his woman, definitely. I like that he's doing that. So, Jax shoots the guy in the head. Otis says the next one that pulls gets the same from him. The idiot he shot in the crotch tells them that Leland is on the way to kill that bitch cop. And Happy steps on the guy's crotch and tells him to answer when Jax asks what's up. The guy says he's going to kill Eagly because he knows Tully is setting Leland up for killing her partner. And Jax curses and says he has to go. So they put a bullet in that guy's head, the guy that, of course, takes shot in the crotch, and Chibs calls Rat, who is meeting with another guy, and Tyler points T.O. out to Moses, and then Moses rolls up, and Rat has just walked out to tell him he has to go when Moses guys grab him, and Tyler says he's Sam Crow and tries to play it cool, acting like it was a coincidence. And at this point, I'm like, okay, are we seriously going to have the same thing that happened to Bobby, to Rat Boy, and T.O.? I was not happy about this at all. At this point, I really was enjoying the episode, I gotta say, because I was like, I really don't want them to repeat this. So, Leland then walks in the hospital carrying flowers. He sets them down and looks through some magazines until the doctors come out of some secure doors. They take a seat, and he takes a seat and looks around, and Jax and the others ride furiously for the hospital. They speed around cars. A doctor goes into the secured area, and Leland slips in behind him. He heads down the hall looking like he should be there, and he tosses the flowers down, pulls a gun out of the gift bag, heads into a room, and he sees the bed is empty, but hears water running. He thinks she's in the shower. He goes in and closes the door behind him. He sneaks in the bathroom, And there's Wayne. He puts a gun to his head, tells him to toss the gun. Instead, he grapples with Wayne, who shoots him several times. He hurts you and slumps down. And that was awesome because Wayne, a lot of people are complaining Wayne has not had a lot to do. And I thought it was really awesome that Wayne just shot him like that. That was definitely really cool. And Wayne definitely is a badass, I gotta say. So Wayne tells Althea he had no time to call it in, but moved eagerly to another room. He says he got an anonymous heads up, and Althea thinks he's protecting the MC, but he says this was a clean kill, and they ask Althea to step in, but tells Wayne his anonymous friends are waiting in the lobby, and says they'll talk later. So Wayne comes out and tells Jax that Eagly's okay, and he says he put 3 bullets in Leland, and Chibs says the guy was scum, then leaves to take a call, and Wayne tells him he had no kills on the job and tells him this is out of hand. He says that Eagly didn't ID anyone and he asks if there was more coming. And Jack says no, and that Leland was the end of it, and he thanks Wayne, and he says he owes him. So pretty much everything, all the conflict with Wayne is pretty much over, it seems. So I thought that was really good, because he kind of did Jax a favor, and it seemed like he wasn't really with Jax, but it seems like, yeah, he is going to help Jax. So I definitely enjoyed that. So Chibs then says that Wendy called to say he had to come to Abel's school, and she doesn't know what's going on. Obviously, Jax is like, alright, what's going on now? Because he knows that Abel has been doing these very violent things, and he wants to know what else is going on. And basically, he says child services were called, and this time he has to show up. He has no choice, because of course, last time, Gemma showed up, but Jax didn't have to. But this time, it has to be both Gemma and Jax. And Chibs says they'll handle Black and tells him to go take care of his family. Jax leaves, and I thought that was really good that they are going to help him out. So Chibs sends Happy with Jax and take rolls with him. Tio and Rat are in the meantime tied up, and Moses tells him that he faces what Bobby did if he doesn't cooperate. So I thought they were actually going to do that to them. And Moses asks where the preacher's son and wife are. They don't answer, and the beating starts. Tio curses. Tyler watches this uncomfortably. And Juice gets a package from Tully delivered by a guard. He opens it and sees it's a book of poems and some petroleum jelly. And he says, holy shit, knowing what's waiting for him if Tully gets his hands on him. So that's really interesting, definitely, because, of course, Tully is trying to, keep Juice near him so he will give him to Lynn. That's basically the plan here, and I think it definitely is very interesting. My only complaint is that we don't see anything of Juice after that scene. That's the final scene with Juice, pretty much. So we don't really get a lot of Juice possibly being suicidal as well, because as I said, I thought that's what was going on. We don't really see that in this episode, though. So, I mean, we don't really see that in this episode, though. So, Gemma's at the school and is in an office, and she sees Jax and gestures to him and says they won't tell her anything, and Mildred, the vice principal, introduces Trill from Child Services, who is an investigator and stands for Harrison, Abel's teacher, and they won't tell Jax anything. And Harrison comes in with Abel and Jax and asks what's going on. He obviously wants to know what's going on here. And Harrison tells Abel to show his dad. He pulls up his sleeve, and there's a horrible wound there. And of course, Jax wants to know who did it, and Harrison tells him to tell the truth. And it turns out that Abel is cutting himself. Now, Abel says that it was Gemma, and he looks at his mom, who's stunned at this. He's like, what? So obviously, he's really upset about that. So later, Moses comes back to see Rat and Tio. He has a grapefruit spoon, says it's a great tool for taking out an eye. And I'm like, please don't do this again. I really don't need to have this plot happen again. It was really stupid in the first place. We really don't need to see it again. He asks who's first, and Tyler stands there looking, and Tio says he can't let the psycho take his eye. And he tells Moses he knows where they are. And he says it's a cabin, and I thought this was awesome. He says the whole charter is probably there. Tio says he'll write it down. Moses tells Tio that he's disappointed that a brother was the first to cave. Tyler asks if they're good, and Moses says he'll let him know when they get there. He follows Moses out, and he's about to take him to somewhere. So that was definitely very interesting. He's about to take him back to that cabin. So when he tells Jax she dressed Abel for school, there was no injury, and Jax asks why he lies and says he knew Gemma would be in trouble. And Gemma says Abel has been quiet and very distant, and Nero says it may be about Tara. And I thought this was interesting, because it could possibly be true, but we know why he's upset. But I think this is interesting what Nero said. He says that he thinks Abel's upset because maybe Abel thinks Gemma is replacing Tara and Wendy. and says he needs to talk to someone. Gemma says he doesn't need a shrink, and Jack says he needs something if he's willing to do this to himself. And Nero agrees he needs a counselor, and Jack says Gemma can't be alone with him because child services is involved now. And honestly, I really enjoy this because, as I said, one of my complaints with last week's episode was that they focused on Abel and then they completely went away. No, this episode, it was like throughout the whole episode, which I definitely really enjoyed. So he says they have to follow protocol or else the kids could be taken by the state, and he asks Wayne to come home with him and help, and he says he's taking the kids back to his house. She agrees, and Gemma's floored that that's happening because all this time, who has been raising Abel? Gemma has, and now, Jax wants to raise Abel with Wendy, so obviously Gemma's kind of upset about this. And Jax tells Gemma he's sorry and says she said it's okay. He kisses her on the head and leaves. And Wendy says she'll pack their stuff and bring the kids by after school lets out, and he thanks her. So Wendy goes to Gemma, holds her to comfort her, and that was definitely really good. So then we get probably the most epic scene of this episode. Well, there were two very epic scenes, but this scene was definitely very epic because Moses and the others, they follow the map to the cabin, staying at the holding cell, and Tyler comes in with another guard. He shoots the other guy and frees them. He says he's sorry it got so messy. Rat and Tio roll out with him. Moses and the others pull up to the Nazis' farmhouse. They wonder if Tio is lying. They get out of the cars. They surround the house. Moses says to clear it. They walk around, poke into a back shed. No one seems to be around. And some guys walk through the yard and they tell Moses it's all clear. They hear a phone ring in the RV. They sneak up on it. One guy opens the door. Then the camper blows up, taking a bunch of his crew. And then the Orions, Jax, and the others storm out and start firing on them with automatic weapons. This was just awesome to watch. Basically, we find out that this was all their plan all along. Their plan was for Tio and, basically their plan was for Tio and Rat Boy to be tied up so they could lure Moses to the cabin. And I thought that was just really awesome. So they slaughter them all, but Moses manages to stand, and I'm like, no, you are not just going to kill him. We need to make him suffer. And I really like that they did this. He hands his gun to Tig, walks over and tries to stand. Chibs takes his gun. Moses tells Jax good for him. And Jax, they basically want to make him feel exactly what he did to Bobby. Because who was the one who did this to Bobby? It was Moses. So he puts his thumb right in his eye, rips his eye out, and it's extremely graphic. Chibs cuts off like this much of his finger. See these fingers? All gone. So, Moses is screaming. The guy lies there whimpering. Jax glares at him. Moses looks up at him. One eyeball hanging by its nerve. He puts two in his head, finishing him off. And that was awesome because it really shows that Karma's a bitch, definitely, for what he did. And I really love seeing that they did that because it really showed how affected they were by Bobby's death. And that pretty much ends all the MC conflict of the season, pretty much. Because now the only conflict left is Jax finding out. So that really made me hyped up for the rest of the episode because this is only we have like a half an hour, we have like an hour left of the episode still, and I was like, okay, definitely something big is about to happen. So that basically ends. That's basically all the MC stuff we get. The rest of the episode is pretty much just us seeing their club's lives individually, which I definitely really, really loved, and I definitely really liked that they did that. So, basically, we see, what ends up happening after that is that basically, Cartwright heads off in search of the pastor's family, and Tyler and one of his men come into, I just read this, basically. So, apparently Jackson and the crew didn't even have time to do the cleanup this time. It looks like Tully's men are going to take care of that for them, and basically, they're going to help them out with that. So before they head out, Tyler brings Tio and Rat back to the group, and Happy actually hasn't changed much over the course of the season. Nothing much to talk about there. And back at the cabin, they tell the pastor's family they're going to take them home and keep an eye on them for a while, and at least one person this whole ordeal may possibly get their happy ending. So we see Juice one last time. It seems like Juice has found himself, we basically see Juice and Tully culling in their cell. Juice is hopping himself on drugs as Tully lies in his lap and reads to him. It's strange and just really weird what's going on there. I really don't know what to talk about as far as Juice and Tully go. I don't know what's going on there. We do know that he's doing this just because Jax told him to, but it's really weird, definitely. However, the bad news is that Juice's story is far from being told, and that's certainly not over. So I loved this next scene. I thought this was amazing. We go back in Charming, and we see that Chibs comes to see Althea. And it seems like their relationship might be thrown down the toilet, because basically she tells him that she seems to be in the middle of a slight breakdown, pretty much. She gets pretty angry with him when he doesn't fight back. He doesn't seem to really care much about their relationship. And she's saying to him, look, this is not really going to work out. If you just want me for sex, this is not going to work out and everything. And she then ends up, like, beating the shit out of him. And for a second, I actually thought she was going to end up killing Chibs, because they said someone was going to die on this episode. And I thought that we were going for another major character. So and also, the guy that played Chibs was guest starring on, Anarchy. It was going to be on Anarchy afterward. So I pretty much thought that Althea would just take the opportunity and shoot Chibs. But no, they end up having very intense makeup sex. And that was really weird. I honestly, though, am very invested into their storyline, because I do like seeing what's going on with Chibs. I like Chibs as a character, and I like seeing this relationship evolve. I've liked it from the beginning, and I like seeing their relationship, how it's progressing and things like that. I think that definitely is very cool, and definitely something I'm really enjoying. And then we get probably one of the most emotional scenes I've seen out of the show so far, because again, I haven't really cared about Tig and Venus that much, but this part really made me care for them. And Tig comes back to visit Venus, and this is a very highly emotional scene, and we can tell right away something is not right, because she tells him that she knows that there's no real future for them other than sanitizing Tig's freak side. Unfortunately, she has conventional feelings for him. She tells him that she actually does have genuine feelings for him and isn't just there to have sex with him. So she tells him quite plainly that she has fallen in love with him, and Tig doesn't know what to say. And thankfully, Venus has already thought this through. She has no intentions of getting the surgery. She doesn't want to get the surgery. And that she's happy with who she is. Unfortunately, this means that things between Tig and her may never come to be, and we don't really know if Tig wants this. And Venus tells him that she needs to put some distance between them until she finds a way to come out of the box again. And Tig tells her that he is at a crossroads as well. And Tig tells Venus that she's the only person that he can really open up to. And after all is said and done, she still loves him. And Tig tells her that he has never had with anyone before, either in the box or out. And Tig has always been a bit strange, but something about Venus really changes him. And she even calls him by his full name. So I thought that was interesting. And here's the thing. I really didn't care about Venus and Tig that much. I didn't. I just thought they were just going to handle this as a fun thing. But I really love that they're taking this in a very serious direction. And Walter Goggins, on Anarchy afterward, told Kurt Sutter that this is probably the most profound role he has ever done, because he's never seen a better emotional scene handled than that one. And I'd have to commend Kurt Sutter for that, because that definitely is one of the best emotional scenes of the season. I almost cried in that scene. I was like this close to crying. I'm like, I'm not gonna cry, but I almost did. However, I did cry in another scene that we'll talk about in a second. Nero walks into Brooke. She's tending to Rat. Nero finds that Rat's condition has something to do with August's men when he begins to get a bit loud. Surprisingly, Brooke pushes back. She tells him, look, he's been through a lot. If he wants answers, talk to Jax. Otherwise, Gemma's in her room. So I thought that was really awesome that she just did that. And I actually really do like Brooke and Rat together. But Rat's probably going to confess to her that he did have sex with someone that's not Brooke. I don't know if he's going to, but we'll have to see. And I am enjoying Brooke as a character, in my opinion. So Nero then talks to Gemma. He tells her that he's going to get his money from Alvarez tomorrow and that he'll be heading to Norco in the next couple of days. She offers to go with him and give him some help. He seems ecstatic at the notion, and she tells him that she needs to get away for a bit while the situation with Abel gets sorted out. She does want to leave with him, and she seems to be finally breaking under the pressure. Thankfully for her, at least for the time being, and I thought that was definitely very good. And it seems like Nero's there to help her. And I'm wondering if this is actually, I was thinking maybe this is actually going to work out for Gemma. Maybe things are going to work out well for her. But not after what we get in the final scene. The final scene, I honestly cried. I did. Because when he discusses the situation with Jack, she tells him that she tried to talk to Abel about it, but he definitely wasn't having it. And he comes up and basically gets a cup of tea. She's going to make him a cup of tea. And Jack says, come here, I finally want to tell you something. And this is huge because he finally admits to Abel that Wendy is his real mom and allows Wendy to be in his life, which I thought was great. And I've only seen the show for one season, and I actually didn't know that Abel didn't know that Wendy was his real mom. I didn't know that. So basically, I thought that was great, and, you know, he tells Abel that Wendy and him used to be married, but they realized they were better off as friends, and he tells Abel that Wendy is there to help take care of him now, and that he needs a mother, and I thought that was just great that he tells him that, and he tells him that no matter what happens, he's always going to have a mother and a father that will do the best for him, and I thought that was just really just such an emotional scene. I cried. I felt so happy for Wendy, because here's the thing with Wendy, is that I know she had all these drug problems. I know that she went to rehab last season and she checked herself out basically to provide for Abel again and be there for him. And that's why she wanted to do this, because she knew that Tara died and wanted to provide for him. And now she's there and Jax is going to let him be a part of her life. And if something does happen to Jax, he will have Wendy, which I definitely really do like. So, Wendy asks Abel if he has any questions, but he tells her no. And Jax assures him that they are back anytime he wants to talk. With that out of the way, Abel heads back to bed. And I knew something was going to happen. I just did, because we had like 5 minutes left. I'm like, okay, so he's going to bed. Oh shit, he's going to tell him. Because there were so many times this episode where it seemed like Abel was going to tell Jax. So many times. And we'll talk about this in a second. But basically, Wendy is very happy that Jax said that, because she can finally be part of his life. Jax puts Wendy to bed. He puts Abel to bed. And he's about to, like, you know, it's a very sweet exchange before Jax hits him on the head. And then it happens, and he says, you know, is Wendy my real mother because I came out of her stomach and everything? And basically, Abel says, well, then, is that why Grandma killed my other mother, so Wendy could replace her? So Wendy could be his mother again. And Jax just has this look on his face. You don't know how he's going to react to this. And that's how the episode ends. And oh my god, he knows. He knows. He knows. He knows. I was going to make a video last night for you guys, but I decided not to because I wanted to do this today. But come on, guys. He finally knows. And I'm so happy that he finally knows, because these last 3 episodes are going to be fucking amazing, okay? This is the thing I've been waiting for the most this season, okay? This is the thing that I've been wanting them to do. It seems like they were so close to doing it, and they were just backing out of it. And now it seems like, nope, they're not going to do this slow pace shit anymore. They need to pick stuff up, and now it's finally picking up, and now we're actually getting somewhere, because Jax knows, and all hell is about to break loose. Because I personally think that, I don't know how Jax is going to react to this. Right now, he is in a good place with Gemma, so I don't know if he is going to react to this in a way that, is going to be rational, or he's just going to go full on how he was in the beginning of the season and deal with Gemma like he did with Lynn. I don't know if he's going to do that, but we'll have to see. But he pretty much is going to find out that, yeah, Gemma lied and all that shit, because all season, Gemma's just been lying to him. She's been full of lies and everything, and now he knows, and it's going to be amazing to see what happens there. My other question is for Juice. What's going to happen with Juice and Tully? That definitely is very weird what's going on there. Nero, do you actually think that Nero is going to, Nero and Gemma are going to make that farm? I think after this, no, there's no way they're making it to that farm. If they do, here's what's going to happen. Nero and Gemma, they're going to go to the farm, and Jax is going to kill one of them, because I don't feel that one of them they're definitely not going to make it out alive. Gemma, I think she's going to die. I'm pretty sure she's going to die. Jax is either going to kill her, or the pressure's going to get to her, and she's going to kill herself. That's what it seems like is going to happen. She has all those conversations with Tara, and if she finds out that Jax knows, then she's going to be really upset, and especially, I've heard everyone talk about this, and I am going to talk about it too, and I definitely really like they're doing this. The one person that Gemma cared about the most all season, the person that she's been raising, the person that she's been looking out for all season long, is the one that ratted her out. And I love that they did that, because it was so unexpected. I personally felt that it was going to be Wayne that found out. Maybe Wayne that found out and then told Jax. Or, basically, I was thinking maybe Juice was gonna, blow his cover and tell Jax, basically, and betray Gemma. But no, it was Abel, and I love that it's Abel, because it just makes it so much more effective, because it's coming from the point of view of a 5-year-old. We have to remember, Abel is a 5-year-old. He is not some 20-something-year-old. He is a 5-year-old, and that is what is so sad about all this, and I definitely can't wait to see how they handle this. They played a clip for next week's episode. It looks amazing, definitely. It looks like maybe Wayne's gonna die. I don't know what's gonna happen there. Chibs and Althea. Do you think this relationship is going to work out between them? I personally don't know. Again, I thought Althea was just going to go in and kill Chibs, but it turns out she's not. Tig and Venus, I love their relationship now. I think it's great. I am wondering what's going to happen between them if Tig is going to want this emotional relationship. It doesn't seem like Tig wants to really have an emotional attachment to Venus. He kind of just thinks of her as a fantasy. But of course, we know that even though she is a prostitute, she really is a he. So we do know that, and it definitely is very sad that Tig doesn't really, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if Tig actually does accept her as that, or if he's just going to think of her as this prostitute. We'll have to see what happens there as well. That's going to be really cool to see. The MC, it seems like the plot is now going to be, is Jax going to continue Sam Crow? Because they did what they need to do with August. That's done. They did what they need to do with Lynn, and who we thought killed Tara. That's done. I'm pretty sure the only thing that he's going to ask the Sons to do is find out what to do with Gemma. That's what he's going to do. You know, I'm pretty sure that's all the Sons are going to do now, because their whole thing of them just, like, going after people is over. So I'm and I really like that, definitely, because that's one of the things I have not been a fan of this season, is them randomly going after people and just killing people one by one. I'm not a fan of that at all, and I haven't been a fan of that all season, and I'm very happy that now that's finally ending, and everything about this episode was extremely amazing. I loved it. The writing was so good. There were parts that had me in tears in this episode. There were some things I just loved about this episode, and I loved that mainly this episode, while it did have a lot of action sequences, it didn't rely on that. This was not an episode that focused on action sequences. This episode, no. It focused on genuine emotion. Some people call this the most emotional episode of Sons of Anarchy. I would have to concur with that. From what I've seen, definitely. It's one of the most emotional episodes of Sons of Anarchy. Definitely, by far, best episode of the season, and I can't wait for next episode. It's going to be amazing. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Aqua. I know this was a long review, but there was tons of stuff to talk about. Come on, guys. This was a huge episode. It's fucking November sweeps. What do you expect? And I will see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye.